You are listening to the Nightline Sports Network, brought to you by Travis Dever and the Dever team, 386-690-1636.
Welcome to the AAC Report, only on the Nightline Sports Network. I'm Jeff Allen. Thanks so much for listening. Coming up, get you set for this week's action on the gridiron, including our Spotlight Game of the Week, as number 19 Tulane and number 1 Cincinnati lock horns to decide who will host the AAC Championship Game. We will talk about that with David Simone of Bearcat Journal. He is standing by in the virtual green room and will join us in a few moments. So great to be back with you after my official bye week of the season. And we are back at it this week. Looking at last weekend's scoreboard, it went like this. Tulane romped over SMU 59-24. Tulsa out-dueled South Florida 48-42. It was Navy upsetting UCF 17-14, which puts the conference championship game race into a whole new category. We'll be getting to that shortly. Houston blew out East Carolina 42-3. Memphis blanked North Alabama 59-0. And Cincinnati was a 23-3 winner over Temple. Meanwhile, the schedule this week looks like this. Saturday, East Carolina at Temple, 1 o'clock ESPN+. East Carolina leads the all-time series 10-9, and they were victorious last year 45-3. Memphis at SMU, 3:30 on either ESPN2 or ESPNU. Memphis leads the all-time series 10-4. The last meeting in 2021 went to Memphis 28-25. UCF and South Florida renew the war on I-4 for the last time for the foreseeable future. Saturday night, 7 o'clock, ESPN2. The Knights lead the all-time series 7-6 and were 17-13 winners last year. Tulsa at Houston. That is a 7:30 kick on ESPNU. Houston leads the all-time series 26-19 and won last year's game 45-10. So, those last two games we mentioned will be important as far as the championship game is concerned. As you know, the winner of Tulane and Cincinnati, the winner will host the AAC Championship Game. That much is a lock. So what happens next? So the loser of that game goes into a potential tie-breaking scenario. So if UCF beats South Florida and they are the only team tied with Cincinnati or Tulane, the loser of that game, UCF would own the tiebreaker and make it to the conference championship game. With me so far? Okay. Houston, though, is in the mix. If they beat Tulsa and UCF beat South Florida, there's a three-way tie for second place. Now, I'm recording this show on a Tuesday night. The college football playoff rankings will be coming out later this evening after I record this show. Meanwhile, if UCF stays ranked in that poll, they should be able to hold down the second position and play the winner of the Tulane-Cincinnati game in the AAC Championship. However, if they're not ranked, or if any of the other teams are not ranked either, because Cincinnati could still conceivably remain in the top 25 if they lost. Same with Tulane. Houston probably won't be ranked in the top 25. So nonetheless, if none of those teams are ranked in the CFP top 25, then it's going to be an aggregate of the ranking averages across several of the ranking systems. So it could get very, very interesting as far as that is concerned. So UCF left a lot on the table, losing to Navy last week in that contest. So it made things a lot more dicey as far as who is going to be participating in the AAC Championship game. So again, we know the winner of Tulane and Cincinnati is hosting. The loser, they will have to figure out what their fate will be. And of course, just flip a coin. Who knows? Coming up, we will talk about that Tulane-Cincinnati game. David Simone of Bearcat Journal joins us to talk about the next when the AAC report continues right after this.
An auto accident can change your life forever. At Chad Barr Law, we are raising the bar on what to expect from your personal injury attorney. Hi, I'm Chad Barr, and I want you to know that our entire team is dedicated to providing you with the representation you deserve in your greatest time of need. If you or a loved one have been injured in an auto accident, call 407-599-9036 for a free consultation or visit chadbarlaw.com. At Chad Barr Law, our clients come to us in need and leave as family. Offices Altamont Springs.
Hey, this is Travis Dever, Kai's Real Estate, the Dever team, New Smyrna Beach. Your source for real estate and everything else, New Smyrna Beach. Proud sponsor of Nightline. Call me anytime at 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636. Let me show you my hometown, New Smyrna Beach, UCF's favorite beach. Go Knights and charge on.
Looking for more out of your Porsche? Look no further than Flat6Motorsports.com. They have the widest selection of aftermarket Porsche parts anywhere in the world. With over 85 product lines and in-depth expertise, Flat6Motorsports.com is your one-stop shop for any Porsche performance needs. Whether you're shopping for intakes, exhausts, suspension, or tuning, they have you covered. Flat6Motorsports.com is the premier Porsche aftermarket specialist. Check them out at Flat6Motorsports.com.
All right, we talk now about the spotlight game of the week in the American. It's Cincinnati and Tulane for all the marbles as far as hosting the conference championship goes. And joining me to talk about that now, we welcome David Simone of Bearcat Journal to the program. David, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, of course, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
Well, you know, it's as I said at the top, we know what happens for the winner. For the loser of this game, well, pending outcomes of UCF and Houston games, it could be anywhere from a number of tiebreakers that I think ends with rock, paper, scissors in a round-robin tournament. So let's talk about the impact of this game as far as that goes, as far as the winner basically laying claim to the home field in the conference championship.
Yeah, from the UC standpoint, with them, already losing to UCF, and UCF obviously still has to beat USF, but we're kind of just looking at this as a need to win type of situation, and I guess there might be a way that they could lose and still make the championship game, but I haven't dug that deep into things. So, it's kind of, set up the way we wanted it to. I know there's, been a lot of transition for UC this year coming off of last year, but if you asked anybody, in August or early September and said you have a chance to play your final game at home and you win and you host the conference championship, I'm pretty sure everybody in Cincinnati would have said, absolutely, let's sign up for that right now.
Yeah, so, talk about this season. So obviously the Bearcats lost a lot of talent, graduation, the NFL. But, Luke Fickell has built a program, and it's looking like it'll be a very sustainable one for some time as they move into the Big 12. So how important has it been this season for the Bearcats to, with losing that amount of talent, but still being able to go forward and be a championship contender?
For sure. And we thought locally that this team still had the pieces to contend for the conference championship. It was a lot of unknowns. Last year going into preseason camp, fall camp, whatever you want to call it, it was one of the most boring fall camps we've ever had. Almost the entire team was coming back, and there were very few position battles. And this year it was essentially the polar opposite. It was a lot of guys that we felt good about, but had just never been put into that position and never been a 60, 70 snap a game player. They were 15 to 20 snap a game players, and you just don't know how those guys are going to react until they are put into those situations. And for the most part, you're just concerned about wins. They have delivered. And there's obviously things that they're not doing as well, especially offensively this year as they did last year. But defense and special teams have carried the Bearcats. They're known for their defense, and while you don't have the names like a Sauce Gardner or Kobe Bryant, the new pieces have certainly coalesced and done plenty for them to put them in this position on Friday, I should say.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I've always respected about Luke Fickell, because he did build his program and he went defense first, and I think that one allowed them to say the ability to build up the program, and then two, in a transition year like this, it becomes very important in that cause.
No doubt. I mean, they still have a lot of good talent on offense. The offense has been a lot of explosive plays and then kind of not much else. It's been very inconsistent. They've struggled up front, especially to run the ball. But defensively, for the vast majority of the season, they were leading the nation, or now probably in the top 5 or top 10 in sacks and tackles for loss. And I think the pass defense has been much better than maybe we expected. When you lose 3 starting defensive backs that get drafted in the top 4 rounds, you just have no clue how you're going to be able to replace that. And there really hasn't been any major problems with that unit. So that's been a big piece of the defense staying on a very similar level to what it did last year.
And of course, the Bearcats have played in a lot of close games. Sometimes that's a good thing, because when you come down to money time, you know how to handle those situations.
I mean, that's kind of what we've talked about on our shows, is that, expectations breed expectations. And I think when you go to the playoff and you go undefeated before you play Alabama in the next year, everybody does realize that it's not going to be the same, but you still would like to see them perform better. But for whatever reason, this team, and maybe it is because they're just used to winning. They've been in these positions and they understand, because, they'll have situations where, East Carolina 2 weeks ago picks up all the credit to Holton Ahlers, picks up a very miraculous 4th down play where I think a lot of teams would have been like, oh, there was our chance to get them off the field. Now they'll get one more 1st down, kick a game-winning field goal, and we lose. And UC's defense just kind of turned around and said, okay, that's as far as you're going, and then held them for another 4 downs, got the ball back, and won the game. So, yes, they have been in a lot of close games, especially lately, but they've always figured out a way to make the game-winning type plays.
So let's talk about the game on Saturday. So what is it about Tulane that Cincinnati needs to be concerned about?
Well, first and foremost, in my opinion, Tajay Spears, their running back, I think their whole offense kind of goes as he goes, and he's definitely one of the elite running backs in the American Athletic Conference. UC's been pretty good against the run. Their yards per carry numbers and their kind of raw rushing numbers are really good, but teams have been at times able to hurt them with the run, especially to the outside. Arkansas did it week 1. UCF had success. In a very weird game when they played East Carolina, they did a great job against Keaton Mitchell in the first half. And then in the second half, he had 2 or 3 runs over 20 yards before he went out of the game. So it's weird. They'll do really, really well. And even from inside of one game, they'll do well and then start to give up some runs. So I think everything for Tulane offensively starts with him. Defensively, UC has just struggled so much to get any consistent run game going that their front 7 and especially their linebackers would be concerning. That if their defense as a whole is quite good, and if UC can't get any semblance of a run game going, it just makes it so much harder for them to throw the ball if there's no threat for them to do anything on the ground.
And as far as Tulane, they've had an incredible season coming off of a devastating 2-win season a year ago. It's almost kind of like like Tulsa, how they rose from the ashes to be a contender for the conference championship. and yet this is another challenger for the Bearcats. So what do you think as far as Tulane goes? What are they going to be concerned about with the Bearcats?
I think they have to be concerned with you, just like we are. I think they have to be concerned with UC's front seven. Juwan Briggs and Dante Corleone at defensive tackle are two of the best in the conference. I believe Dante Corleone, who doesn't even start, is still Pro Football Focus's #1 rated defensive player in the entire country. He's a redshirt freshman from Cincinnati that is about 6'3", 330, and has just played outstanding all season. And then you have Ivan Pace Jr. at linebacker, who transferred in from Miami, Ohio. His brother Deshaun was already on the Bearcats. But he's top 5 in the country in tackles, sacks, tackles for loss. Has been just kind of a one-man wrecking crew at times. So, the front seven does a lot of the damage for UC and helps out their defensive backs. And then it's, can you keep UC from hitting their big plays with Tyler Scott and Trey Tucker on the outside? The offense can be stagnant and very inconsistent. And as most people probably listening to this saw against ECU, you hit a 76-yard touchdown and a 55-yard touchdown and return a kick for a touchdown, and that's all you need when your defense can slow down most teams. So it's, how do you make UC drive the ball, and how do you kind of combat what they can do up front on defense?
Of course, we're recording this on a Monday evening, so it's in advance of the college football playoff rankings coming out right now in the AP. Tulane 19, Cincinnati 21. It's a coveted time slot on Black Friday, the first game of the day on ABC. So how do you think this one plays out?
I think it'll be close. I think it'll be low scoring. That's kind of been the MO for UC in conference play, especially when they play the better teams. The offense is seems to just be too inconsistent to put a lot of points on the board right now, and the defense is too good to kind of keep that from happening to them. So I think it'll be low scoring, and with UC winning 32 games in a row at home, I'm kind of the mind that someone is going to have to beat them for me to at Nippert Stadium for me to think that they're going to lose. And that might be a homeristic viewpoint, but to win 32 in a row, I don't care who you're playing. That's pretty impressive. To never have a bad day, to never have a team come in there that just plays way over their skis and upsets you. But until it happens, I can't pick it to happen. So I'm going to say UC pulls it out in a close, low-scoring game.
Well, there you go. And, of course, there is always the potential they could play again a week later. So
we've done that before. So
yes.
Back in, 2019, we played Memphis 2 weeks in a row. So, yes, it wouldn't be a first.
No, absolutely not. Well, David, please, before we let you go, make some shameless plugs for your coverage of the Bearcats.
Yeah, BearcatJournal.com. We're part of the 24/7 Sports Network. We have a podcast almost every night. Tonight we have one, I don't know when this will come out, but on Monday nights we have one that's kind of a little bit of everything. I'm on with our owner, Chad Brendel, usually Wednesday or Thursday, and that's kind of like our big preview type show for, especially in football season. We have a show on Thursday nights with some former players. That's a lot of fun. Some walk-ons that give you a inside perspective from their point of view, and just trying to get that new media with a YouTube channel and lots of podcasts, and still have the written stuff. But and then I do a Sunday morning one called the Bearcat Brunch, where we kind of recap the game that just happened. So hopefully we're talking about another win this Sunday morning. So a lot of stuff going on Bearcat Journal. So love anybody to check it out, and hope they find something they like.
Outstanding, David. Thanks again for being here. I appreciate it.
Oh, of course. Thanks for having me.
Number 19 Tulane, number 21 Cincinnati. Black Friday noon kickoff on ABC. Tulane leads the all-time series 11-7. Cincinnati defeated them last year, however, by a 31-12 score. Speaking of Tulane, Their quarterback, Michael Pratt, is the Offensive Player of the Week, figured in 6 touchdowns in their romp over SMU. He was 9 of 14 for 141 yards and 3 touchdowns, added 70 rushing yards on 10 carries with 3 touchdowns on the ground before coming out of the game. He ranked second in the American in pass efficiency and has thrown only 4 interceptions, the fewest of any starting quarterback in the conference. The Defensive Player of the Week, John Marshall of Navy. He plays the striker position. He set a school record of 4 sacks to go with 10 tackles and a forced fumble that set up the game-winning field goal in their victory over UCF. Had all 4 sacks in the second half, and he was also named the Walter Camp National Defensive Player of the Week. He leads the American with a school record 10.5 sacks in 2022. The Special Teams Player of the Week is Ryan Coe of Cincinnati. He scored 11 points, 3 for 3 on field goal attempts, and 2 extra points as he hit from 28, 38, and 24 yards, extending his streak to 9 straight successful field goal attempts and becoming the most accurate kicker in Cincinnati program history at 81.8%. He has gone 18 of 22 on the season, ranking second in the conference in made field goals. All right, we're back to talk about women's soccer in the NCAA Championship. Men's soccer also in that stage as well. Volleyball and basketball is back as well. That's coming up next on the AAC Report.
If you haven't figured it out yet, I love Tijuana Flats. I would love them even if they weren't a partner with us on the Nightline Sports Network. They have all kinds of great Tex-Mex food, and it's fresh, by the way. Made to order burritos, tacos, enchiladas, chimichangas, quesadillas, bowls, nachos, and taco salads. And if you haven't tried the queso, you are completely missing out. It is the best queso that I've ever had in my life. Absolutely hands down. And the sauce bar that they have, everything from wild to mild in there. Absolutely awesome, awesome stuff. Not only do I love the food at Tijuana Flats, but I love the company, a UCF-born company. And they give back to the community with the Justin Queso Foundation. So head to your local Tijuana Flats. Tex-Mex for everyone. Hey Jeep Wrangler owners, have you ever sat in your office at work and watched the rain just pour into your Jeep because the weatherman said that there was a 0 chance of rain? Or you put your doors back on because there was a 100% chance and then not a drop of rain fell? Well, there's a company out there that can help take the worry away and give you the peace of mind to be without your doors. The company's called Life Without Doors. They make waterproof rain curtains and dash covers for Wranglers. Life Without Doors is there to help make the decision to leave the doors at home an easy one. Find out more at lifewithoutdoors.com.
Spice up your company with homemade marketing services from Tasty Gravy Creative. Tasty Gravy serves up a menu of budget-friendly marketing, graphic design, and public relations services customized to your specific goals. Co-owned by a UCF graduate, Tasty Gravy can help refresh your brand, strengthen your online presence, or reinforce your company's message. Contact Tasty Gravy for help with your website, social media, marketing, advertising materials, and more. Visit tastygravy.com.
Memphis, the AAC Women's Soccer Champions, came from behind twice against number 3 Arkansas to force overtime, but they lost in a penalty shootout in the NCAA Championship third round this past Sunday. They were down 2-0 in the first half, but goals from Lily Huber and Jocelyn Alonzo in the final 5 minutes tied the game. In the second half, Arkansas scored in the 81st minute, but Maya Jones put the equalizers in the 88th minute to force the overtime. After 20 minutes of scoreless action, Claire Wyville made 2 saves to keep the Tigers in the penalty shootout, but the Razorbacks advanced, winning that shutout 3-2. Memphis had advanced to the third round by defeating number 7 seed Mississippi State 4-0 in round number 2. Meanwhile, UCLA The number 1 seed got a heck of a battle from UCF. They battled to a 1-1 draw, but the Knights fell in the penalty shootout 3-0 in the second round last week. It was the third consecutive game that ended with a penalty shootout for the Knights, who fell in the AAC semifinals to Memphis in a shootout before defeating NC State in the first round, also in a shootout. Turning to men's soccer action in the NCAA tournament. In second round action, South Florida was blanked by Kentucky 4-0. SMU season also came to an end as they lost to Vermont 3-2. FIU advanced to the third round after they battled New Hampshire to a 2-2 draw and won the game on PKs 10-9. And Tulsa makes it to the third round. A 1-0 victory in 2 overtimes over Georgetown. In volleyball, Houston is up to number 22 in the AVCA poll. UCF remains 1 spot behind at number 23 as they move towards their Black Friday showdown for the conference title. Both teams have matches prior to then on Wednesday evening, and provided they are both victorious, it will be for all the marbles of the conference title. Remember, the AAC does not have a postseason tournament. The Offensive Player of the Week, McKenna Melville, for the 8th time this season, got the OP of the week, averaging 7.75 points per set, 6.67 kills per set for the Knights. And on the defensive side, into the week of 4 digs per set and 1 block per set. She had double-doubles in both matches against East Carolina and Temple. Also, another repeat winner, and you've heard this before, the Defensive Player of the Week, Kate Georgiades of Houston, had 2 20-dig performances for the Cougs, averaging 6.14 digs per set, had 23 of those against Memphis and 20 against SMU. Also went a perfect 31 for 31 in serve-receive, and also added 12 assists and 1 ace as the Cougars set the program for consecutive wins for that team. Men's basketball honors. The Player of the Week, Marcus Sasser of Houston, led the now second-ranked Cougars to 3 wins, averaging 18.3 points, 4.7 rebounds, and 2.3 assists per contest. And the Freshman of the Week, Taylor Hendricks of UCF. He averaged 13.7 points, 6.3 rebounds, and 1.7 blocks per game as UCF went 3-0 for the week, including a title win at the Baha Mar Bahamas Championship down in the Bahamas. Where else? He had a double-double with 16 points and 12 rebounds in a come-from-behind win against Oklahoma State, and added 19 in the championship game against Santa Clara. Women's basketball honors. The Player of the Week, Alina Sinecki of South Florida, helped lead the Bulls to 2 wins over Alabama and TCU, averaging 21.5 points per contest. The Freshman of the Week, her teammate Carla Brito of South Florida, finished 7.5 points per game and 10 rebounds per contest in those wins for South Florida there. Okay, that's going to do it for this week's episode. As always, please follow me on Twitter at JeffAllen_88, and you can follow the Nightline Sports Network as well at UCF_Nightline. And as we record this before Thanksgiving, I want to wish you all a very safe and happy Thanksgiving weekend. And I would also just like to reiterate my thanks for you for being out there to listen to the AAC Report each and every week right here on the Nightline Sports Network. I'm Jeff Allen. Thanks for listening.